I'd like to introduce our Vice President of the Rotary Club of Maywood Proviso, Clerk Karen Yarborough, who's been a member of the Rotary for several years and has brought us outstanding speakers over the past several months. We're very grateful for your leadership, Karen. Thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to serve. Today, we were to hear from Clerk Iris Y. Martinez, and I'm going to read her bio. Unfortunately, she can't be with us today. A situation has raised its ugly head in community where a family member was shot in the head. I just have goosebumps just thinking about something like this happening to anybody. And our thoughts, certainly our prayers, are with Iris and her family as she tries to navigate this horrible, horrible crime that's been inflicted upon her family. But I'm going to read her bio. She has a very interesting bio. I've had an opportunity to work with Iris on a number of different levels. One, when she was in the Senate, I was in the House, and we worked on housing legislation together on the Central Committee, the Democratic Central Committee, and also as a State Central Committee person. I'm going to go ahead and read about Iris. She was sworn into her first term in the Illinois State Senate on January 8th of 2003 to represent the people of Illinois' 20th Legislative District. Her election marked the first time a Latina has been elected to the state Senate in Illinois history. So Iris is a history maker. She made history again by serving as an assistant majority leader from 2007 to 2008, a position never held before by a Latina. So Iris makes history again. She was named Majority Caucus Whip in 2013 and became Assistant Majority Leader in 2018. As a state senator, Clerk Martinez used her position to advocate for affordable housing, expanded health care access, and ensuring seniors and the disabled populations receive proper care. She's a very strong champion for Illinois children, working on initiatives to keep children safe, where hundreds and hundreds of children receive health screenings with her program, Family Wellness and Back to School Fair, for dental checkups, immunizations, and backpacks filled with school supplies every year. She does this each and every year. A tireless advocate of programs designed to improve the quality of education for youth in Illinois, Clerk Martinez fought for the Grow Your Own Teachers Initiative, an effort that placed 1,000 teachers in low-income, hard-to-staff Illinois public schools by offering forgivable student loans to paraprofessionals, parents, and other community leaders who wish to become teachers. She also supported the annual Golden Apple Scholar program, which places highly qualified teachers in the state's hard-to-staff schools. Her involvement with the Illinois Legislative Latino Caucus, including previously serving as a co-chair, gave her a platform to work on initiatives of importance to minorities. She championed a law allowing people who are not comfortable speaker or understanding English, as well as those who have trouble hearing, to be aided by an interpreter in the courtroom. Another law she spearheaded ensured that all healthcare facilities treating Medicaid patients in managed care programs must develop and implement language services. On November 3rd, 2020, Martinez made history once again by being elected the first Latina clerk of the Circuit Court of Cook County, the largest of 24 judicial circuits in Illinois, as well as one of the largest unified court systems in the entire United States. She served as past president of the National Hispanic Caucus of State Legislators and is currently serving the 4th Congressional District as a State Central Committee woman for the Democratic Party of Illinois. City of Chicago's 33rd Ward Democratic Committee person and chairwoman of the Hispanic Caucus for the Democratic National Committee. Clerk Martinez was born and raised in Chicago's West Town community. She resides in the city's Albany Park neighborhood and has a daughter, Jackie Nicole. I think that for all of you, I'm just so sorry you can't hear from her today, but she has an able-bodied person in the person of Patrick Hanlon, who knows Iris very, very well, works in the clerk's office. He's going to be our speaker today, and I do know him. He's a former assessor, Cook County, worked there for a number of years, and has a plethora of information to share with us today. Patrick?
Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing us to continue with this effort. Clerk Yarborough and the Rotary Club of Proviso, and your kind words for Clerk Martinez encompasses what all our thoughts are at this grave situation that this society is dealing with. And doesn't leave its hand untouched to anybody in anybody's our lives. So I just want to say thank you for allowing us to still present to you our office, and Clerk Martinez can come back around again, but thank you again for the kind words and the wonderful introduction. I'm Patrick Hanlon. I'm Executive Clerk of External Affairs. Clerk Yarborough and I go far enough back that we're not going to say years. But with that said, I've been in county government, in and out of county government for a long time, and I had the opportunity to come work with Clerk Martinez through the campaign as well, into taking on a position with her when she got sworn in, to do a lot. There's been 20 years of a prior administration. However, today, yesterday, or even tomorrow isn't about the prior administration. It's about what we're looking to do, how we want to move forward. And I'd like to give you guys some information, maybe even discussions. We are working our way to square one. We have 1,300 employees, close to 1,400 almost. And COVID, just like it has in many county offices, city offices, local government, township, has impacted how services are delivered. We have an incredible large union membership of circuit court clerks. But what we've learned in coming into office and even before office is something that Madam Clerk Yarborough has said to me a long time ago is, and many other elected officials, and we take it very seriously, is that your first presentation to the client, the customer, the taxpayer coming into your office is your best opportunity to show your best efforts. And we are undertaking those efforts. This circuit court system is very difficult it's so large, it's very difficult to get everything done at once. And the reason why is that we need to retrain our clerks, our cashiers, because there's a difference between giving legal advice and providing legal information. And that's our first step, because many people in the Proviso Maywood area will be visiting Maywood Courthouse, District 4. And that building in its own right makes things a little bit difficult when you get in, even on the best of days. And we recognize that. I was out in that building years ago. And people coming into the court system need the sense that someone is going to help them. We may not be able to help them all the way they want. And a lot of pro se litigants, people who represent themselves, are a big user of the system, and they are lost. So Madam Clerk Martinez is taking the first steps to try and recreate, and not use the word of modernized technology that everyone thinks is necessary and is necessary. But however, we need to modernize our culture. We got to make sure that those that have worked here feel involved, because if they feel involved, the taxpayer and the user of the system will get a much better interaction. We have 5 suburban districts and the downtown. The most critical one of them is our 26th Street, which is the criminal court building, but all suburban districts is a microcosm of 26th Street and our civil divisions here in the Daly Center. And I think what's most important that we're working on and moving forward with is the idea of expungements. Expungements hit some of the most hardest communities even before COVID, and now are hit even harder with COVID. There is a legislation that was passed to deal with cannabis, but not everybody's needs are cannabis related. So we're in the process of trying to figure out, because under COVID, can't really do much in regards to assisting the person in person. The Cabrini Green Legal Aid, many other not-for-profit efforts are trying to help us with expungement, and I do believe that we will get fairly soon a new process that I think will allow more people to come in and to meet with us in one way to deal with an expungement that they have filed already, or they filed but lacks the paperwork. Many people need assistance. So we have to work with other partners, and we're gathering them to help us do expungement and do expungements more often than a yearly summit, and to do it across the city and county. With COVID, that makes it even better. I believe we could go then into the more local jurisdictions and do something with 100 people at a high school, 200 people maybe, and not have hundreds and thousands of people line up for one day. That's the kind of modernization of culture that we're looking to do. In addition to, we have seen across the county and here in our courthouses, orders of protection. That did not shut down with COVID. And COVID has caused significant, I believe, familial problems in the homes. And it is something about work keeping maybe parents separated a little bit longer during the day makes for a happier family. But when people are out of work, regardless of their income level, the stress and the stress of your health we're seeing that order of protections haven't slowed down. And so we're working with the domestic violence stakeholders and the domestic violence courthouse at 555 West Harrington, but it's also available in all the other suburban courthouses to address. These are the 2 major platforms that we think are important to address because they hit the average resident of Cook County. We're not talking about big contractual corporation versus corporation. We feel it's necessary to go down and address those that are in the court system when they don't want to be or are forced to be because of their life events and they can't afford an attorney. Or the attorney they afford leaves them less than the specific situation they'd like to be in. So the idea of being able to provide legal information to help even those that are represented by lawyers to understand better the system, how it operates, what is necessary, and to make sure that they walk away with first an ability to ask us better questions for their specific situation. I find in working at the assessor's office a long time ago, and that we're bringing here from Madam Clerk at the state and hearing from other elected officials like Clerk Yarborough and others, what it means to be a county official is your mind is open, your heart is open, and your staff is open. We try to assist as much as possible, drilling down. To her own detriment, Clerk Martinez has an open office policy. I get many emails sent to me about individuals who've gotten her email, and her first response is, Figure it out and let's respond. Doesn't matter if it's some major attorney or the person who barely is able to communicate in English. We're here to help, and that's what we believe is the modernizing of the culture. Because we hear that before coming in office that it's important to do that. And if you don't reach out to the users of the system, both the professionals and the individual taxpayer, and relate with them, no matter what we do, we're not going to be successful. Now, all our courthouses are open. COVID has caused some slowness down, caused some revenue problems for the office, just like it has included for a lot of offices. But I don't know if any of you seen a CBS 2 story in October that got repeated in January. We were brought to our attention that there is a privacy of child sex victims issue prior to us coming in, and we're dealing with it, and we're seeking state legislation to deal with it. But these are the kind of things that this office, under this Clerk Martinez, can address and show to the community all across Cook County, but specifically the Black, Brown, and poor communities, that you're going to be caught in the system, but you're not alone. We may not be able to hold their hands all the way through, but darn it, we're going to do our best to make sure that what we communicate is understandable as much as possible, and to try and link them up with other resources that could assist them. A little bit about Clerk Martinez that Clerk Yarborough knows all too well. Clerk Martinez isn't your normal elected official, just like Clerk Yarborough is not. It goes down to the individual person, making a difference, changing things. Try to, not because of legacy, because it's the right thing to do. And as we get complaints, and we prefer to call them issues to address, anyone in the Proviso Maywood community, their voices are to be heard, just like everywhere across the county. But the system is filled with people who don't understand it, family members who may have been gotten a wrong information and then have a sentiment and a frustration that's going to take us many interactions to overcome, and to show them that we do know what we're talking about. We do want to put them in touch with people to help them come out of a very difficult problem. We may not be able to assist them all the way they would like, but we do need to show and demonstrate that we mean well and that we will do well. And that's a short, very synopsis of the office. There is no 100-day report. This is a evolving. We're going to come out with a state of the clerk's office, but kind of hard to say we're dealing with things just to get to a good foundation. But that's what we're doing. And with your guys' assistance, we like to hear that there's problems, because if we don't hear it, we can't correct it. So with that said, I am happy to entertain any questions, or I hope I didn't truncate what this office does too much. I can go on for hours, but I don't think you want to hear hours of me.
Well, no, we don't want to hear hours, but we have you right now, and we're going to hear you for the remainder of the time that we have. Thank you for sharing and standing in the gap for Iris. But nobody can be Iris but Iris. But we'll have her to come back and speak to us. I'd like to alert everyone that you can put your questions in the chat, or you can raise your hands and we will call on you. A couple of questions were given to me before I got here today, and Patrick, I know that you are a lawyer, so we might as well take full advantage of getting some free legal advice today from you.
I'm happy to give as much free legal information.
Okay.
Maybe
oh, that's right. Information, right.
That's
okay.
right. And by the way, it'll be pretty strong, more than you would get elsewhere.
Okay. One of the
felonies-
questions had to do with felonies. Can felonies be expunged, and if so, what kind?
Well, that's a very, very good question. And it's my understanding, okay, most felonies cannot be expunged. However, there is a process, and what I'd like to give you guys is revising our expungement worksheet so that it would have an executive summary and then a lengthier synopsis of the statute so that you have a better understanding. Expungements are so critical to getting people back their lives.
Hey, Pat, would you define expungement?
Expungement
What is it?
Expungement is the process in which it's not the sealing of the documents, it's those criminal charges are actually being expunged. They still exist, but their impact has been expunged from the record. So if a employer is looking to see if there's criminal charges, it isn't there. The document is still there, but the charge is then been removed. And that's critical in regards to people trying to get their lives back in order. And that goes hand in hand with a order of protection, because those are the two bigger issues the average taxpayer and resident of Cook County feels. We're working, an order of protection, the process is that you come and make an emergency petition, and it gets before the court. All our suburban districts and the courthouse down here on Daly Center takes order of protections. What we're finding though, and I just did one as a pro bono to learn more this summer before coming into office. These, mostly women, are devastated. They are scared. And the fact that they fill out and go for an order of protection, we've said that we have to make the process easier and more protective. And then when we say protective is that COVID has given us great opportunities to advance our technology and advance our processes. So a woman who feels the need for whatever their situation is to file an order of protection may not be able to take off work to do it, may be scared to even leave the house to do something, doesn't know who to reach out to help them do this. And COVID has shown us, and it's a wonderful question because we're right in the process of working with Legal Aid of Chicago, Ascend Justice, a bunch of other stakeholders that are advocates for order of protections to migrate into our culture so that we can provide those resources on our website and direct people to these advocates. But also, how can we allow and get a system where the one seeking an order of protection doesn't have to take off a day of work, who may not be able to monetarily, and be able to maybe take their lunchtime and work with somebody and get an order of protection filed, and then do the case by Zoom. And so that is the order of protection process. Once it's gone up, the judge hears it. Sometimes there's an emergency order of protection with a future date to come in, and then the respondent, the one who's been complained about, has an opportunity to come and plead their case as to why an order of protection shouldn't be applied to them. But it's my sense and my understanding, after going through a couple and watching a few and meeting with the presiding judge, that the chief judge, Clerk Martinez, everybody is looking to make this process better and to assist those seeking order protections. They're the most vulnerable in society, and it isn't age-related. It can get all the way up into the elderly. So that's the general process. Once an order of protection is filed, it's also submitted to the to a lead system, so because there's a protection that they can't be near them or involved in a certain way. And then it's a regular court proceeding. But the emergency order of protection is a very difficult proceeding, a very difficult process, not in terms of procedure, but rather for the person seeking it has had to reach deep into their heart to find the courage to do it. Are the courts open? Some courts are. The order of protections, domestic violence, that's open. We have just completed this week our first jury trial at 26th Street. It's jury selection was done on Monday, opening Monday and Tuesday, opening arguments, and the trial occurred Tuesday and Wednesday. And at the end of Wednesday, jury convened and rendered their opinion. The first jury trial in a year. We are slowly, the chief judge is slowly opening up those courts. It's very difficult. It took about 3 courtrooms to do just a burglary case for social distancing. We're trying to get our employees vaccinated, which is just as similar to everyone else in the Cook County community. The shortage and the lack of supply impacts even this process. But we're doing our best, and I anticipate if everyone can stay safe and healthy that we should be further along with trials going on. But yes, the courts are open for you to make your to file your cases, to file your petitions, both on the civil and the criminal cases are still being dealt with. They're just not being heard yet.
Okay. This is Attorney Pat Hanlon that's with the Clerk of the Circuit Court. Please put your questions in the chat, and he will be happy to share what information he has to share with us.
Clerk Yarbrough, actually they should put their questions in the question and answer section.
Where's that?
Yeah, I see the Zoom question, so I'm happy to continue on with that.
Okay, you can go ahead. I wanted to know when I know that there was annual expungement outreaches that are done, and I get your point. You know, a lot of people would go to those events and would be frustrated because they thought it was something else. And so I like the fact that you're going to make it real clear to people what it is and what it isn't, so that they're not standing in those long lines and to get to somebody that tells them, no, we can't do that or whatever. So do you have any idea when you will be?
I would like fairly soon. And fairly soon means before June. We're working on, that's I can't speak specifically for the office. My goal, though, is to get this out and rolling. Specifically, if I do something at 63rd over at Kennedy King College, how can anyone from Maywood for one day get over there and spend in line? So my thought is to work within all the communities, wards and townships and villages to have smaller events. It takes up more of our time, but it is more successful. As well as, and I learned it through the reinstatement of the driver license that just occurred, that we need to separate out, to your point, Clerk Yarbrough, we need to separate out who, what, where. You may have it needs to be explained, and that's what the sign up is about. Did you file already for an expungement? If you filed for expungement, is it only because we haven't gotten to it to create a court date, or we have, but your information is missing? You were supposed to give us some more things. And so that's where a person will spend all day in line to be told, no, you're not going to go before a judge. You didn't give us this. So my sense is that we have that communication ahead of time to say, you're missing these things. However, come in, and then you'll be in counseling so we can get, and I don't mean in counseling for their own individual issues, but rather for their petition for expungement, so that they can get assistance to say, here's what's missing, so that you can get on and get your life on and get this expungement, and here's what qualifies, here's what doesn't qualify, here's what you need to do. So break it up into those different events within the larger event. When we did the expungement, we had several hundred people, but only about 100 cases that got to the judges. So through Zoom, I want to create that process where we have people assisting, we have our clerks even in the office on a Saturday at their desk, and then we have the chief judge declaring it actually as a court day to do it often so that we can have the judges handle those cases right that are proper and ready to be heard, and then take in new petitions for expungement, either through counseling, that they got all their paperwork in a row, and that's contingent upon us, I believe, with our stakeholders and our resource community to provide that information easily displayable and understandable on our website. Our website is a representation of everything we do is the most important thing. We have to make it manageable, understanding, and to provide a better scenario that everyone can get the information they need to be able to do what they need to do. And the pardon and difference between a pardon that's a governor event. Pardon's the crime. An expungement means that it's being expunged from the record. Two different things. But we'll include that, though. I think that's an excellent question, that our expungement document should have an answer to what is that difference between a pardon and expungement, okay? Or any governmental action that deals with a criminal charge. And I think that's an excellent question that we need to put at the top.
So Pat, with a pardon, does that mean it didn't happen?
No, it happens. You just it doesn't remove it. It just means you've been pardoned from that crime, and whatever. If your sentence was 10 years and you served 2, it's done.
Oh, so all of those people
so
that
the pardon and the commutation of sentences, and there's some distinct differences, but I don't want to be. I want to make sure that I give a more sophisticated. You're forgiving the error, but it still stays on it. Okay.
Okay, so you brought up another term, commutation. What is a commutation?
That's where you're given your sentence is reduced. Okay.
Oh.
Or they could also reduce the commutation of a court fine. So the governor has the ability to reduce a sentence, okay, or he can pardon the crime itself and forgive that the crime occurred.
Okay, so like you said, if a person was in prison and they got a commutation of their sentence, that means that whatever time they serve, they're done and they're let out of prison.
Yeah, it does not erase the conviction.
But the conviction is there. Okay.
Right. Now, a president can forgive pardon somebody. So as if a person that the crime in which they're convicted is basically, doesn't mean they're innocent of the crime. It just removes some of the civil issues that are imposed when a person's convicted of a crime.
So
like
Pat, all of those.
Are you convicted of a crime?
Okay.
Well, you were convicted of a crime, but you've been pardoned from it. So a loan application or some other things. These kind of, and I think, Madam Clerk, you bring up a wonderful question, and it's more than just a question. It's really our community that are subject to criminal offenses alleged against them and possibly even successfully charged. We need to let them know what's available to them, why it's available to them, and what are the documents and levels that are necessary for them to understand what they need to do first, or why they may not be entitled or be able to successfully petition for something.
So all of those people that the former president pardoned, they They were convicted of crimes in many cases, but their slate was, I mean, how did that work for them?
It is my understanding, and it's been a long time since the last one I've sought a pardon from the governor. It's in essence a very simple one, and let's put it into what Maywood would want to understand. You have business owners, community members who own businesses in Maywood, Proviso Township, and they would like to have a liquor license to run a bar and have video gaming.
Okay.
The commutation of a sentence doesn't help them.
Oh.
A pardon does. That is the simplest and clearest, because you can't have a liquor license if you have certain convictions, certain level of convictions. And that's what I mean is, how do we address the residents of Cook County who may have lost their businesses, their livelihood, or made a mistake a long time ago, need an opportunity to, and have set their lives straight, but now are denied an opportunity to be and I don't mean productive in a non-economic way, I mean in an economic way, to be a productive member of the community, providing jobs, providing services, wanting to be locating in any community, let alone the Maywood community, in which I'm very familiar with in previous interactions, of the need that economic development is best served for the community when the community members are able to participate in the economic development.
Sure.
And have the sense of pride and the willingness to work and make the community better. And we got to find a way, and I think that's an excellent question to divulge early on in the expungement so that everyone gets a better sense of what they can do, what can happen. We may not be able to help them, but I should at least put that information out in regards to expungement, because expungement to everybody means I'm free and clear of everything and my life is great now. And that's not always the case.
So our president has a question in the chat. What are some of the partners or partner agencies that help residents to understand your services and benefits?
Well, we take any partner. One, but the Chicago Bar Association, the Chicago Bar Foundation, many of the advocates through the domestic violence arena, Metropolitan Family Services, Legal Aid of Chicago, are to name a few. If there is any that you would like us to have reach out to us, I'm going to do what most people would recommend not doing. My email is, my email is, and I'll put it in the chat, but it's pjhanlon@cookcountycourt.com. And it's important that if there is a stakeholder, a resource, that somebody we can work with, we'll be happy to try and work with them. The better the information out to the community, the better we will be. This reminds me very much of the effort I did years ago with the assessor's office, so that no matter how much we tried, the process was clouded. It was clouded because it's archaic, it's complicated, and you have to start off at square one. The first thing we did over there was put the pictures of the property on the website, so that when you looked at your address and PIN, you saw your house. I found that gave us initial discussion point that we know we're talking about the same property. I think here it's the same effort that we need to make sure that those that come before us, we try to understand them and demonstrate to them that we understand. They may not know to ask the right question, and that's what we mean by changing the culture, modernizing the culture. Not everyone is computer savvy. They may need, we're going to create a call center so that if you're dialing a certain district phone number, that after 5 rings, it doesn't get answered, you're transferred to somebody who's going to damn well answer that phone and help you. It's those little things that I think make a big difference to set this office moving forward in a much better way. But let me put it in.
Oh,
We're a little different than you, Madam Clerk.
Oh.
Because that's the other thing. We are a non-judicial office of the judiciary.
Oh.
Okay, so we are not subject to FOIA. We are only the keepers of the records. Those records in that courtroom is still the domain of the judges. So if we want, you can come in and ask for the documents. We have a public access computer. You can come in and go up on it, but the documents themselves are the property of and under the jurisdiction and authority of the judges. So we'll see today, right? Gacy, there's another Gacy series. Okay? Some of those exhibits may or may not have been impounded. If they're impounded, a person can't come and see them. They got to ask the chief judge, the presiding judge, a criminal, to film or view them. We don't give that. Or the statistics about how many people X, Y, and Z were of this charge. The chief judge has to authorize to do it. And they do, but they're not our documents. We're just a keeper of them.
I see. Okay, next question is expungement limited to 21 years old and older?
No, I believe it's 18, but I'll double check.
Okay. And under what circumstances do you work on orders of protection with someone other than the victim?
We don't. We only,
guardian, parent, power of attorney?
Whoever, that's a court issue, not us. So that's why I just said that. We don't, the forms are filed, we just process. If the judge wants to give a parent an order, a parent filing on behalf of a minor, an order of protection against somebody, that's in the court's authority and jurisdiction. We don't kick it out. Okay? Those are documents that get on the court file, and we just are the archivists, really, of them. Just as you are, Madam Clerk, of files, you can't, we're it's an important process, an important step, but we are very limited. We don't get, that would be giving legal advice and rendering a legal opinion on the sufficiency of a complaint, and we can't do that. Now, mind you, I think it's important to address those type of questions because that's providing legal information to somebody in that document. I do believe that our expungement document is clear here. I think I need to prepare one just as substantively for orders of protection and even divorce.
Okay. Are there other questions for Attorney Hanlon?
Oh, and by the way, everyone on the call, I'd like to, on behalf of Madam Clerk, say thank you. Also, wish all a wonderful Women's History Month, as well as today of any Greek heritage. Today is the 200th anniversary of the March 25th, 1821 Greek Revolution.
Yeah.
And I know these things because I have to write them now.
Well, I know about them because I got a message from Treasurer Pappas this morning, and she says she used to go to church twice on this day, so.
I'll be
So,
seeing her in
yes.
about 10 minutes down in the plaza for the raising of the
Okay.
Greek flag.
Okay, well, I don't see, are there any other questions from people? I don't see any other questions. Listen, I want to thank you for standing in the gap for Clerk Martinez today at the short notice and what have you, and hearing from our members and folks here in the clerk's office. We appreciate you sharing with us today. And you've kind of enlightened me on some things. I've often wondered about, I'm not an attorney, and so I often wonder, people use these terms interchangeably, and I don't think they understand what, where, when, why, and who. And so I'm really happy to hear that you're kind of going to elucidate some of these things so that people don't spend their whole day standing in a line somewhere to get help when the help is not particularly there for what their issue is.
It is.
And that's so important. I hear it so often, Pat. I hear it so often from people who tell me they took off a day from work. They've done this or that, or they can't afford that, but they do want to have their issue addressed. So I really appreciate you sharing with us today, and I'm going to throw it back in the hands of Mr. President.
Well,
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
And I
My
think
pleasure.
you said Deputy Clerk, is that correct?
Executive Clerk of External Affairs, but in essence, I am here for everybody.
Well, Executive Clerk O'Hanlon, thank you so much. I agree with the clerk, as I think everyone, that if we're sitting in a line, we want it to be the right line. And probably getting out in the public like this is one of the best ways to do that, to help people understand the services and who they're for and what they can expect. So thank you so much. Obviously, you're highly skilled and knowledgeable, and I've appreciated your frankness on all these different issues. Thank you.
You're welcome. And it is the month of Blarney as well.
I got you on that. Just a couple more announcements.
And if I may, Clerk Yarborough and President Lipka and all the members, once COVID is done and we can congregate better, as I've done in the past, I'll be willing to come out to an individual event for you to address your members of the community as much as I can. And it's more about having them understand that we are a listening ear, and we can't answer every question, nor can we answer every question right then and there. But the fact that somebody from the office, and I'll make sure I be there, so that we get to the Maywood and Proviso community all the resources, because it's emblematic and embodies exactly what the issues are. And I commit to you, our office is open to you.
Thank you again. Really appreciate that. I want to remind folks that your dues, anyone who's still paying for fourth quarter dues, those are due April 1st. So let's make sure we meet that deadline. I'd like to remind members, even though I said that we have a very creative campaign effort that we'll be launching soon, and we'll be involving members of the club and dissemination of grant funds and so forth. The board also approved selling items online. At some of our meetings, we may hold up an item and actually put it up for a silent auction. So, we may use Ballyhood and other online tools to do that. So we're at this point asking folks too, if they have something they'd like to donate for sale, please contact me or another board member ASAP. We'll send out a form for people that will encourage your participation in donating items that we might sell to other club members and our guests. And that could be items or services. Sometimes people say, well, I can't afford to either donate money or donate a gift. Thank you again, Pat. Appreciate you being here.
I'll be leaving. Thank you.
When you say you can't afford a gift or to give money, we understand that. You might be able to gift a service. Well, I'm staring at the clerk in her image here in the gallery mode. galley mode. I'm reminded that I donated the painting of a room, and Henderson and I worked together on some renovation, some painting over at her house, and that generated a couple $100 for the club, and it was appreciated as a, one way to earn money. You might want to do spring cleaning for someone, or help someone moving, but just think about services you might provide as well. We've actually had people donate pies at our live auctions and generated a lot of money from when someone makes something with their hands. They've taken time to invest their time. We've returned thanks in a big way. I think pies have sold for over $100 each at times. I know I bought a couple of those. So I don't want to take your whole afternoon here with announcements, but keep in mind you could donate something. And then, let's see. Oh, and then also, if you're not registered on Rallyhood or Club Express, should they contact you, Bonnie, on Club Express, or Amanda, should they contact you? So we can say either Amanda or Bonnie, Amanda Killingham or Bonnie Lipka. Members, contact them if you don't have an account on Club Express or Rallyhood, because some of our information is distributed only in those two ways. So it's really important. Thank you, everyone, for being here again today. Are there any other announcements? Seeing none, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.